Hello, heathens.
Hey, Heathens, it is a bright, sunny day.
It really is, and the sky is so clear.
Mm-hmm.
It's so nice. I miss the sun.
It's so nice to finally see it again after all the weather we've had. Even though we're supposed to have like snow, what, Friday? Tomorrow?
Yeah, by the time this comes out, it would have been last week we had snow. I
Time is illusion.
Time is a man-made concept, and I cannot tell you how many times I said that this week alone. I don't know why or how, but it just kept coming up where I'd be like, well, yeah, dude. Oh, it's because daylight savings hits on this Saturday.
Oh, that's right. That's
We
right.
lose an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my clients, her friend lives in Arizona or somewhere like that. And she's like, we don't do that. And she was like, what? She's like, yeah, we don't have daylight savings or any of that. And I was like, weird. It's weird because, again, I was like, well, it makes sense though, because there was my statement. Time is a man-made concept, people.
Oh God, it's just so interesting because um you forget because of where we're at in our perspective, like you forget that other people don't do that or don't describe to that or you and it is so funny to me that we're the only ones.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like we were talking about death too
Yeah.
yesterday.
This is that one client.
Oh man, you guys, I can't wait to talk about death on this podcast. Nicole and I both have very interesting ideas of death. And so I was telling her, you know, I just, this is my belief. Um, with time being a man-made concept, this lifetime might feel like a moment in our understanding of now. Like,
Hmm.
I don't believe necessarily that this is all it is. Well, actually, I don't believe that at all. So I don't believe this is all it is. I believe this
Right.
is a moment in the journey, and we could have many other moments here, or we can have many other moments other places, but I just don't believe that that's all it is. And so we talk a lot about mental thresholds on this podcast. I definitely almost threw my client over her mental podcast or her mental podcast, her mental threshold. Her mental
Yes, all of
podcast.
it.
Yeah. That words make sense in my head.
Sometimes the channel coming through is not a good one.
No. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. Time is weird. Time is really weird.
Well,
Um,
especially when you start thinking about it like that, like it's made up and like, but we're led to believe that like that's all there is, right? Like, so I remember when I was trying to understand time and get more of it, kind of thing, and I started saying that I'm always there on time. I'm always there on time, always there on time. Because I was struggling with lateness, right?
mhm.
And I remember that actually, the more I don't look at time, the better I do.
Me too.
If I
I would agree.
micromanage time, like I lose it.
Well, that's like when you're manifesting and you want something, if you put a time frame on it, it's micromanaging, which we talked about.
Right.
I can't remember if that was last episode or a couple episodes ago, It's hard to put time stamps on things, man. People that live by this internal clock, it
Mm-hmm.
makes me not crazy. I just could never understand it. Cause like even now I'm to the point where I like to be early to appointments and stuff, which usually I'm on time for that stuff. But sometimes if I'm like 5 minutes late before, that would literally be the end of the world. And now
Yeah,
I'm like, who knows if I would have been there 5 minutes earlier, maybe I would have gotten in a car crash. I don't know. I'm arriving when I am meant to be there.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because
It's
we've seen this time and time. Like we would show up later than we expected to an event or whatever. And then there was something that happened, and then we're like, oh, this is why we're here at this time.
yeah, even early. So like
Hmm.
a great example, you guys, is when we went to the pagan convention, we were running late. later than we thought. Neither of us were like, we like to we do this thing where it's like around the time that we say we're gonna leave, we'll leave.
Right.
Sometimes we're earlier and then we're like, go us, like, hell yeah, buddy. We congratulate ourselves because it's like a little win. But when we're not leaving at the time or arriving on the time that we thought we were going to, we just kind of throw our hands up and it's like, cool, we'll get there. We're on our way. We'll get there.
Right.
It was literally perfect timing because our friends that own Even Star Chalice had been having a really rough weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And we literally had just registered because it was a very weird way to buy your tickets, mind you.
Which with those things, I don't know if you guys like have been to a lot of like psychic fairs and stuff like that, but I feel like they're always weird to get into.
It's never just like you go in, you buy the ticket, here's your little like welcome packet. We had to get like, it was just like a little freaking all over the place. And it was so overwhelming to walk into because there's like tables full of shit and there's people on computers, but then there's this table and this table and this table. And it's just like, what are we, what are we, what are we supposed to do? Like,
What are we doing?
yeah. Cause then I was like, well, we're buying our tickets online, but then I go to buy them and I can't pay. And we're both like, oh, okay. So we go up there and then we can pay. But then they just hand you this packet and they're like, oh, go over there and put your name on your thingy. We're like, okay. So as we're doing this, somebody falls like behind our
Mm-hmm.
registration table. And lo and behold, it's Mara.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, oh, we should go over there. Had we have been there earlier, we would have missed that. But when we got there, it was perfect timing, man. They both were like, our friends in our spiritual group call us the Valkyries because like Nicole and I fucking swoop in, man. We start making shit happen. We help take care of you. We'll do whatever we need to do because we're like, Valkyries is the best way to say it because we're there to help
Mm-hmm.
you. And sure as shit, we go in. Nicole's with Mara, helping her, gives her a hug. She's doing like whatever she's got to do. I go with Russ. I'm helping him do whatever he needs to do. We meet back together. We go get them breakfast. We come back and then we proceed with our day. And it was just like
Right.
divine timing.
And if we were there when we were meant when we thought we were meant to be, we would have been in a class already.
Yeah.
We were already been in a lecture or whatever because we were trying to get to the first lecture because we only had one day and they had so much information. I mean, there was like what 7 to 12 in 2 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it was so much.
It was so much. But
Um,
it's a good example to divine timing, man.
mhm.
Start looking for that stuff, you guys. It'll make your life a lot easier. It'll be less stressy, messy, as I like to say.
Stressy messy.
You'll start realizing, oh my God, I came at the perfect time. Every
Right.
time.
Hmm.
It'll just feel really good. So start paying attention to that.
Yeah, instead of feeding those demons that are like, you're late and you're a piece of shit and all that kind of stuff.
You suck.
So what are we talking about today, heathen?
Oh God. Well, before we get into that, I think we should mention what's going on in the fucking astral world. That is, if you
Oh,
guys,
please do.
I can't believe how many people have been like, what the hell is happening? And I'm like, this is happening. So we just had a full moon in Virgo that was on Tuesday, the 7th. Also on the 7th, transits, just a bunch of different planets moving their positions in the stars. Saturn moved, I think Mercury, Mars moved. We had a lot happen on Tuesday. Leading up to that, what I noticed for myself, I felt like fucking ass, man. I couldn't get out of
Yeah.
bed, but I couldn't also go to sleep. I was dreaming like freaking crazy. I wasn't sleeping through the night. I kept waking up. It was hard to do anything. And as you guys know, by the time this comes out, I'll be moved. Packing was unbelievably hard to do.
Hmm.
It hit on Tuesday. I personally feel a lot better. But my um Saturn is in Aquarius in the 12th house. So this isn't like a bad mesh up for me. Which you guys can look all of this up. But I feel like we really quick need to talk about it. If you're going through a really hard time right now, it's because a lot of shit just energetically changed for us with the planets.
Hmm.
And it's okay. You're not crazy. You're not a bad person. You're not doing enough. You're doing great. Everybody's going through it. And as you talk to more people are going to relate with you. Everybody's going through it right now, you guys.
Hell yeah,
Everybody.
because I feel like ass crack. I feel like my career is trying to like push me out already. I'm like, ah.
Mhm. Mhm. And you just looked it up. What is Saturn in moved to Pisces? And what were some
Mhm.
of the aspects that we're going to be noticing with that? I know you said
Um,
something with career, but I can't remember
well,
what.
it depends on which, because each house that it's going to be into is going to have a different thing. So, like,
True.
um, intense changes will be taking place in like medicines, chemistry, all kinds of asylums, like including prisons and psychiatric clinics, schools, religion, new religions, end of old ones, religious wars. So these are things that like Pisces house like governs over because it's the 12th house. So this might even too, it'd be interesting because Saturn brings in like restriction and a container to put it in. And Pisces is that form-fitting water.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what comes about in this whole, because this is like 2 to 3 years that it's going to stay in Pisces. Ugh.
Man, we're going to see a lot of changes. A lot of changes, you guys. I'm like,
Well, and it's interesting because if you go back and see where Saturn was and what we went through during those times, and then you can kind of see how it's going to restructure into Pisces, into the world.
right. Oh, God. Well, hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of insight. There are some really great astrologers online that can help you look into this further. One of them, my favorite, his
My
name,
favorite,
oh, we love
we
this
had,
man's.
dude, we had a little like, what was it, fangirl moment
Oh,
because he
yes.
like, didn't he follow us on
I
Instagram?
think he follows us on Instagram and we're like, Louis! That's how we felt when Know Thyself podcast also followed us. I
Oh my
woke up
God,
to that
yes.
notification
Mm-hmm.
and I was in Chicago and I was like, I literally shut up out of bed and I was like, what the fuck? And Jordan was like, oh my God, what happened? And I was like, my favorite, our freaking favorite podcast started following us. I was so excited. There was a few people, even Damien supports us on Instagram. And
Yeah,
I was just
Davey
like,
Knuckles did too.
oh my God. It
Which
felt
that
really
was
cool.
funny because like Know Thyself saw that he liked a picture of ours or whatever. And it's so funny to me because I'm like, I don't know.
People
Uh,
fangirl.
yeah, like I like fangirling. It makes me feel good, right?
Yeah, hell
Um,
yeah.
and it was funny because the guy from Know Thyself podcast was like, "Well, you're already a legend because Davy Knuckles looks." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like here we go.
Yeah, like you're not just actually taking specific classes from him and tutor some of his students
I know he
sometimes.
doesn't count.
He doesn't count. He's kind of like a friend at this point. He's a
Right,
spiritual friend.
he is a friend. He's a friend. He's a mentor. Like oh god, but it was just funny because like he was like, well, yeah.
So yeah, guys, if you follow unfortunately Louis is actually going through some things too right now where like people are stealing his Instagram account. So be wary of this. His Instagram account is literally just all one word, the soul sage. That's it. He
Hmm.
will never DM you for a reading.
Reading, no,
No, you have to DM him and book with him. Like,
and
he's
do it.
amazing. Please do it. Louis
Yeah.
is the best astrology reader I have ever personally had read for me. And then there's the other woman on YouTube too that explains this conjunction on all these transits.
Oh yeah.
What's her name?
So she
Bresh
started going in, or she started when I started following her. She was Barbara Goldsmith, Goldstein,
Goldsmith. Yes.
Goldsmith.
Yep.
But now she changed her name to Braca. So it's
Braca.
Braca Goldsmith. Yeah.
See, my dyslexic can't read brain said Brescia.
Well, yeah, it took me a minute to be like, because she did the transition in between, but I found her when David Bowie had died. And I don't know why that's so specific, but
Yeah, I was like, damn, son, that is specific.
and the only reason I picked her up was because, like, oh, I was looking. So when David Bowie died, I went on a crusade of like trying to figure out what he was like when he was younger. So I wanted to see videos and interviews of him and read him when he was younger, like who he was and stuff like that. And I found one of her videos because like she talked about his chart,
Oh, cool.
and she made like he was an Aquarius and all this kind of stuff, and she makes it so simple for me to understand planets and houses, and like the way she talks is right on.
Oh my gosh,
um
yeah.
she does every month, she does one for all the zodiac signs and stuff.
I love that so much. Yeah, I just sent it to Isabella too because so many people have been texting me like the moon, and I'm like, yes? Question mark. I feel like Nicole, yes.
Yes.
Yes. What are we
Oh my gosh,
okay?
she was so beautiful last night. I was driving home and I'm like, hey,
Oh, with the clouds, talk about
yeah.
picturesque, like that perfect computer background, foam background of the moon.
Uh-huh.
Oh, la ooh la la.
I mean, talk about fangirling. I've been fangirling over that bitch for a long time.
The moon. Nicole's
The
like,
moon.
it's a whole entity.
I'm always like, hi, how are you?
Okay, let's get down to brass fucking tacks. I'm just kidding. Today's a fun ass episode. It's not even that
Oh my God, I'm
serious.
so excited. I'm so excited. My new favorite place in the planet.
Do you know how much that makes me want to fucking shoot fireworks out my butthole? I'm so excited.
Out of your butthole.
Yeah, come on, let's make it weird.
Yeah.
Uh, um, Dude, we're talking New Orleans, and many of you know me. And for those of you that don't, I have been obsessed with New Orleans for a fucking hot ass minute now.
Hmm.
And I finally
Thank you to Isabella for like giving us a reason.
thank you to Isabella for getting one of our favorite people or peoples, because including Trinity,
Yeah.
to New Orleans. You got a lot of our favorite people to New Orleans. Your wedding was
Oh,
beautiful, and we
on
fucking love you.
Halloween, like
On
how can we
Halloween.
like
Oh, dude, and weddings are hard, you guys. There's a lot of things that society puts on us to have fucking perfect, man. And Isabella went a little bit against the grain because definitely destination weddings are getting more acceptable, but man, she was so stressed to make sure that everybody had a good time. Even weeks
mhm.
afterwards when I would talk to her, that poor thing, man, she was like, I just feel bad. I don't feel like everybody enjoyed themselves. And I'm like, dog, you literally took us to New Orleans during the weekend of Halloween. You gave us an opportunity to stay for Halloween, and then on top of it, you provided us with a party. You had gave us things to do. Like it was perfect. I was like, I loved your wedding. I loved everything about it. It
It
was
was
fun.
amazing. Hmm.
Yeah, the day of was stressful. Don't get me wrong, for everybody, because weddings, again, that whole
They
standard
are.
of perfection,
Hmm.
stress. But oh man, I'm so glad. It makes my heart squeeze that you love that city because I fucking love that city. I love the
Ah,
people. I love the feeling.
yeah.
Oh, man. So what was your because I could go on for fucking hours by myself talking about how much I love this city, but what was it for you that made you realize like, holy shit, I actually love this city?
So when we first got there, and I had been there when I was 16, but I was with my parents and, had a totally different experience at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was great, but this time it was so um like seeing it from an adult perspective and being there, with my daughter and you, both my daughters. And it's the streets and the feeling of it. Immediately started giving offerings to New Orleans, started throwing change on the ground. Because we wanted to have a good time, and I know it's super spiritual and there's a lot of spiritual energy there. And I wanted to make sure we were super respectful for the whole thing, right? But it's so weird because I don't feel like I did anything that was like, oh my God, I have to go back and do this again. My thing was like getting up in the morning, walking to the coffee shop, watching all these people that were cleaning the streets and picking up trash and like, and they were so prideful of it. It wasn't like, they were mad about it or because their lot in life is cleaning up after these drunk sickos or whatever, which is fine too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but watching everybody work in this way and clean the streets up and having pride and doing another day, here we go again. Uh, and just having that moment when there weren't humans out was so special to me.
Being able to sit on like an old cobblestone street with like plants hanging above you because a lot of people decorate their balconies, and like having that history, and like the city's peaceful in the morning, peaceful as hell. It is like, I agree with you. It's a moment where you're just like, everything else kind of melts away because there's not hustle and bustle, and there's not
Mm-mm.
like this need to be quick at anything. People walk pretty lazily, and like even as they're cleaning, they're taking their time and they're cleaning, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's such a good slow down feeling.
It's so clean and like at that point, like you can feel the refreshness of it and how they renew because you know what it feels like when it's like midnight and Bourbon Street and by the way, this is my warning to everybody. After midnight, go back to your room. Go back to your fucking room. Don't stay out. It's bad news bears.
Well, yeah, because New Orleans, their French motto, I'm not gonna try to say it in French because I will butcher it, but it's let the good times roll. That is the motto of New Orleans.
Hmm. I just feel at some point it becomes too much.
I would agree with you. There have been plenty of nights out in New Orleans that I have been out well past my bedtime, and it's always ends with this little cheeseburger joint on Bourbon Street, and it's across from my
Hmm.
favorite gay bar on Bourbon Street. Because the ways they're beautiful. Oh my God, they're so pretty.
Oh my God,
Um,
that place. I'm surprised I haven't been kicked out.
yeah. Um,
But so grateful for it. So grateful. I was like, thank God we're eating. It's amazing.
oh, I love it. That place, there's one waiter there that every time I've ever been, he's been there. And I'm like, he was always so busy. I'm like, never want to introduce myself. And I'm like, I want to be his
Mm,
friend because I'm here every time I'm here, I come in.
you're
But
right.
yeah, I would agree with you. There's certain times I really personally don't prefer to ever go back to New Orleans. One of them being Mardi Gras. Um, Mardi Gras feels to me very touristy. It feels very people don't know how to act in New Orleans. They don't know how to respect the people that live there or the city itself, their history. That's just my own personal opinion. I've been once, and what I tell people is like, yeah, dude, if you like hour waits for food to refer a diner and you like bags of beads being thrown from 3 stories up at your face, go to Mardi Gras. Puke everywhere.
Hmm.
Like people, it's just a lot of people, man.
Yeah.
think you should experience once, but I like New Orleans like end of September, in October. Halloween was fucking awesome.
Hmm.
People dressed up everywhere.
Well, it was interesting too because really, the I don't know. I guess the best way to say it, the touristy people were gone by the time Halloween came because Halloween was on a Tuesday.
It was
We
on a
left
Monday
on
because we left on
we
Tuesday.
left on Tuesday.
Yep.
So um the big like happening was during the weekend and um it wasn't as busy once Halloween actually. Like I expected more people and like it wasn't. It was kind of like, no, okay.
Yeah, it was like I thought I expected more too. Cause like I've been for let's see, we've been for Voodoo Fest, which happens in City Park, but there's a shit ton of people in the quarter. Mardi Gras was insanity. There's so many people. I'm trying to think. I think there's one other thing that we've been there during. And like normally when there's like holidays and big events, dude, it is wild as hell there. And that was actually so mild. And I was like, wow, this is enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was great. Before we get into the fun spiritual metaphysical shit we did and saw, um, I have a ritual. So every time I go to New Orleans, and this is another thing, you guys, this trip,
Mm-hmm.
I was nervous before, and it wasn't for anything other than I wanted Nicole and Trinity to love this city as much as I do because I literally looked into moving there at one point because I was like, I literally would be probably
Mm-hmm.
undeniably happy there. Um, and I was like nervous if they were gonna like it or not. Because of course these are my two people. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
spend the most time with Nicole, and then during the summer I spend a lot of time with the baby. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like these are my people, man. This is my family, and I want them to love it as much as I do. So I took them to this little hole in the wall place called Port of Call. And
Mm-hmm.
then Michael, Bella, and I started this, what became a ritual for me. It's how I start off every New Orleans trip. Even if I get there early, I don't eat until they're open. It's my ritual. It's how I start off my trip. And
This is how we do it.
they only do burgers, cheeseburgers, and baked potatoes. And it was so great because Trinity and Nicole were like, dude, that's the best burger I've ever
Oh my
had. And I
God.
was like, fuck yes.
That really, I feel, was the best meal that we had.
Dude, that meal is
Uh,
bomb as hell. Bomb as
mm-hmm.
hell. And the place is so fucking tiny and hot and sweaty
Oh my God,
and
it was
dark.
hot. It was hot.
It was hot. It's
It was
sweaty.
hot. And
It's
then like
hot.
there was so many people there, and I was like, oh, I need to drink to get anxiety out of here. And it
Yeah,
was great. It
it
was
was
great. We
great.
were hungry.
So if you guys would like to follow within my footsteps, start your freaking New Orleans trip off at Port of Call, man. That shit'll have you
Mm-hmm.
right. Real right. Um, okay, so I think we should start with our New Orleans because we had some interesting shit happen during our trip spiritually and things we saw and felt. And um I
Oh,
think
we should start before the house cleansing,
yeah,
before we even got there, right?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We should start before we even got there. Um which I would love for you to start that story off because it started with you.
Right. Okay. So what had happened was is that we had gotten contact by a person that needed a house cleansing. Like she was telling me all the stuff that was happening and da da da. And I'm like, okay, okay. So we're trying to set up a time to come over there. I talked to Kassi and I'm like, all right, can you, have her intuitively like check in and see what we need to bring and what we're up against. So we talk about it and we realize that it's like Papa Logba. So we start doing research on it and then we're like, okay, this is a voodoo priest. He is the road opener. He likes, I think we ended up getting to offer to him uh, cigar, some rum, and some candies. That was our like, we were going to offer it to him to see if we could appease him to leave them alone or whatever. So of course, once we got all of these ingredients, they fell off. Like they never contacted me again. We never could like set up a time. Nothing was right. So then it just kind of fell off, right? But we still had all these ingredients. And I think at one point you had even seen him like in a picture or your seat or something like reflection. Like he was
So
making his self known.
I have that picture. We could post it on our Instagram if you guys are interested. I could see I could see him, even Bella, she was doing my hair, and I was like, no fucking way. And she's like, what? And I was like, hold on. So I took a picture of where my salon chair was, and it looks like Pop Logba's face.
Mm-hmm.
If or Legba, however people say it, but um when you look at pictures of him, it looked like his face. So we could post that on Instagram and see if anybody catches it. Because the episode won't be out yet, so that would be funny.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I still, and I had these products like the cigar and the rum on my table. So every time I came home, I was faced with these offerings. And you come home, you're like, I really need to fucking do something. Like, what am I gonna do with this stuff? Right? Like, I don't know. And then it kind of clicked where like, okay, we're going to New Orleans. This is like voodoo and hoodoo capital, like, and I don't know much, so if my ignorance shows through, I'm very sorry about that. I'm very interested and very much want to respect it as much as possible. Hoodoo and voodoo. And um it was so I was like, oh well, we have to offer we're going to New Orleans, like we should offer this to him. That way we have a great time. We knew we wanted this to be a spiritual event for us, along with the wedding, along with everything else that we were doing. And so then you, me, and Trinity, I don't know if it was the night before or whatever, we all went outside back in my yard next to the forest and set up a little thing. We had a candle for him. We all drank some rum. We all smoked on the cigar for him, and we left him candies. And that's all we did. And then we went to New Orleans after that. And I really do think that not only did he help us, he is still helping us now
Mm-hmm.
because he is part of this road opening thing. So a lot has opened up for us after that New Orleans trip.
Yeah, I agree with you. Sorry, I had to write that down. Um, because now I'm like, damn, I should have an altar for Legba. I really should,
Yeah.
because I do agree. I think he's with us. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of like information on him, just because he is very well known, and he's considered the voodoo god in New Orleans. Now I don't know specifically if that's how it is in voodoo or Haitian or hoodoo, all of the different root workings, all of that. Because I also would say I'm ignorant as well, but I do have a little bit of information on him, and it's that he's an intermediary between like human and spirits. So he stands at the crossroads basically and gives us permission to speak with spirit or God. In Haitian it's Iowa, which I hope I'm saying right, but he is also believed to speak all human languages, all of them. So he's like the
Mm-hmm.
great communicator. He facilitates communication, speech, and his origins come from Dahomey. I want to say, I know I'm saying it wrong, but it's Dahomey, which is an where most voodoo and Haitian cultures come from. It's ancient Western African cultures. Um, but yeah, he's really cool. In some stories he appears as a god of fertility or a trickster god, and then in others he's known as a
Mm-hmm.
protector of children, a healer, and a forgiving spirit who can offer forgiveness to those who commit crimes against fellow human. And he asked for simple offerings, man. At first I was
Mm-hmm.
like, you remember Coven? I was like, American Horror Story Coven? I was like, homeboy's in that.
Right?
And that's how he was showing himself to me too. And I was like, now this is going to be controversial. But when I saw old homeboy in American Horror Story, I was like, damn, that is a fine ass man
Mm-hmm.
dressed up as a Haitian god. Whew, good God, sir. But
Because
then,
sometimes we like things that scare us.
yeah, because then also realizing who it was when we had that come up, um, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up and I got scared.
Mm-hmm.
Because like it's like raw power that you're feeling, and being in front of raw power like that can feel very sketchy. But now
Yeah.
he's like an ally.
No, I really do think like he really helped us through that because we never had anything happen that was that ever put us in danger or um we didn't have a bad time. We never fought while we were there.
Oh God, no, and that's actually a really good, I didn't think about that. Because even in our times when we were the most stressed, right? Because like day of the wedding, Nicole was she's ordained, so she was the high priestess who was going to be wedding them, and I was the groom's best person, and but I'm also the bride's one of her best friends, so it was like a lot of back and forth, and we were running around, we were doing stuff, Nicole's practicing, and we would see each other here and there, and it would be those moments where I was like, can you help me with this, can you help me with that, and it was like we were just doing things for each other, and we were
Hmm.
working in like tandem, and it was like even the next day when we were all three of us, Trinity, Nicole, and I, were exhausted, we were still working in harmony together, where I was like, let's go out and meet Aunt
Debbie.
Debbie.
Yeah, my aunt
And
met us there.
yeah, and we went to the garden district. We met her for lunch. We walked around and looked at some houses, and then we went back and took a nap together. We were always on the
Dude,
like,
we were so tired that day.
oh man.
And as soon as we ate, I felt so bad because I was like, I have to go back. I can't do anymore.
Oh
We
my
need.
God.
Then we went home and like watched Twilight, I think, or Harry
Oh,
Potter. I
Harry
can't
Potter,
remember.
yes.
Yeah,
Because it was
because it
the
was all on.
also how perfect was that? You guys were
Oh
we're
God.
in New Orleans on Halloween weekend, and on the TV the whole weekend was Twilight and Harry Potter. We were like, it's meant to be.
We're all three because we got a king size bed for all three of us. So we're all in bed with us. That's the other thing. It's like we didn't fight. There was no time that like I felt like I needed my space or anything like that. So we were super comfortable. I did my rituals every morning while we were there. Just to make sure we did keep some of the stuff out. Uh really was just the lesser banishing ritual. I didn't do the rose cross. But I didn't really feel like I guess we had
Actually, I think
to.
you did one night,
Oh, did
one
I?
day. You did the day, you did it Halloween morning.
Oh,
You
that
did your
makes more
full
sense.
shebang because you also did the waterfall thing.
Oh, yeah, that's the LVX.
Yes, you also did that, and like you had us join in on that one. But you did the full shebang Halloween morning because the veil was thin,
Oh, that's right.
and we were going out, and you were like, "Everybody, get over here."
I'm just gonna look like this now.
Is she an angel? You look like a cat, truly, though. The way like all your features are being muted, your little nose, your little cat nose.
I'm trying to get out of the sun.
Um,
Oh,
yeah, we we slept in a king bed, people, because we all like to cuddle each other. The
we
baby
do.
cuddles hard as hell, and it is great.
Oh my
She's
God.
she's like a weighted pillow.
She is
Um,
like a weighted pillow.
yeah, we slept great together.
Hmm.
We even let the baby stay in the room by herself if she didn't want to come out because like, we all need our space sometimes. Like I went out with like one of my friends and we just worked and our communication was so great the entire time. And it was
Hmm.
like easy,
It
you
was. It
know?
was easy.
And I
For
was like,
being so taxing and so much energy that you needed to give and like Um, but like New Orleans really felt so good to me. Like it was very inviting. Uh, I had such cool little experiences. Like when you showed me Mississippi, I know in my brain and like where like location stuff is, and I know the Mississippi, like, but when you were like, this is the Mississippi, I was like, what?
oh yeah, the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, this is the Mississippi. Like, I don't know why I didn't even think like I don't know. It was so mind blowing when it was like you start putting these like puzzle pieces together of like where you're actually at on a map. Like,
Yeah, and even like looking at where New Orleans is at, you get a little topsy-turvy with like your north, south, east, and west because New Orleans sits at like an axis and the streets don't follow like certain like north-south stuff. So it is, even though it's a grid and it's pretty easy to figure out, it's still like when you think about where everything's at, you're like, I'm where?
I'm like, what?
what? Like time doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I think I, I'm laughing already because this was the funniest shit. So before any of the big stuff started happening, because as the veil got thinner towards Halloween, we shit started happening. But before that, we had it we Nicole was giving offerings, right? I mean, we'd be walking, and the first time that I noticed it, I heard change falling, and she's walking behind me because, of course, I'm leading us everywhere, and we're walking to port of
Mm-hmm.
call, and I hear ding, 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 ding,
Mm-hmm.
ding, 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 and it was so funny to me because the one night we were out walking, I think we went and got snacks and like smokes and stuff like that. And we were heading back to like put our
Mm-hmm.
stuff in and figure out what else we wanted to do or if we wanted to chill. And this lady walks up behind Nicole and was like, ma'am, ma'am, you dropped a coin. And she's like, oh, I know it's for the spirits. And she picks it up. She's looking at it like, oh my God. And she's like, I'm taking this with me. This is good luck.
You're
She's like,
right.
I'm like, this is like my, what'd she say? Something from New Orleans.
Yeah, like a keepsake,
Keepsake.
like
There it
her
is. Yep.
keepsake. Yeah.
And
And
I
I was
was
like,
like, oh my
oh
God.
my God, that was so cool.
That was so fucking funny. I was like, dude, that lady loved your coin. I was like, maybe it would be. Maybe it's almost like a talisman for her. Who knows?
Oh, absolutely. Like,
So much.
well, it's such a cool little thing to like do and then immediately like have validation that is well off or received. Like what
Yeah,
I was doing was being well received, you know. Because you know that
absolutely.
a lot of the people that okay, so this is maybe what I was like kind of seeing is that down there, I feel like the more you drink, the more you're going to give up yourself to the spirits that are there and are be influenced by it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I feel like if she was being influenced by a certain spirit or something like that, not that it was bad, but that was the validation that I got from, you know, her picking that up after I had dropped it.
Yeah, dude, that's actually like really interesting. I didn't even think about that. I feel like before we got to the night before Halloween, there wasn't anything really crazy that happened until we hit the night before Halloween and then Halloween. I will say that it was so funny. So Nicole's an early riser, and myself and the baby are not. And
Mm-hmm.
so Nicole just gets up, she grabs her shit, she goes out. She either says she was sitting in the courtyard some mornings. One morning she ventured out, and we just text her and we're like, hey, we're getting up, just so you know, or like, where are you? We'll call her, whatever it is. Like, that's just kind of how our all three of our mutual respects are when we travel together. That's why I love traveling with these two.
Mm-hmm.
And or sometimes the baby would still be sleeping and I would get up later than Nicole, but earlier than Trinity, and I'd just meet her and would wait for the baby to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And Nicole went and found this tree. She was so excited about it too. She was like, dude, I found this tree and it was so cool.
Uh-huh.
And I
Well,
would
it was because that tree is like that's where they like hold spiritual like events
like
and
ceremonies.
ceremonies and stuff like that. The Haitians and the voodoo and the hoodoo. That's where even like the slaves back in the time when there were slaves, the I don't know, the people would go to their churches or whatever, and then the slaves would go to the park and they would have their rituals and ceremonies in this park, Congo Park.
Yeah, that's where Marie Laveau, that was one of her big three places where she held rituals too for the Buddhists, which
It
is super
was
interesting.
it was so funny though, like me walking into that park and I didn't know where I was going. I knew I was looking for a tree and I kind of like I gave some offerings to the park and then I turned around and I was like, I'm gonna start walking this way. And then all of a sudden I found the tree. It's the biggest tree I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'll show pictures of it on Instagram. It's so wide. And there were offerings around the tree, like people had stuff in the bark, and they had little like oranges and like food offerings and little prayers, and it was very respectful and very neat.
Mm-hmm.
So I creeped on it, like I sat at the bench first to make sure it was okay. And then I got a little braver. So then I like came up to it and sat like in the tree, like by the roots and in the tree. And I sat with it for a while there. And then I gave it offerings. I gave it some of my ritual ashes and little trinkets that I had that I knew I was going to get for it. And then I actually have some of the dirt from there.
That's so cool.
And that was on Halloween. That was Halloween, the day of Halloween.
Oh, the more, yeah.
Yeah.
So where do we want to go from here? Okay, so the night before Halloween, um, Bella had invited us to a haunted ghost tour. Because they were leaving that next morning. They were leaving on Halloween, and I was so shocked because Isabella loves Halloween. It's her favorite
Yeah.
holiday.
Uh-huh.
But she was like, I'm gonna go home. Michael has to work, blah blah. So they left morning of Halloween. So the night before they invited us on this haunted ghost tour. And I was like excited because I was
Mm-hmm.
hoping I would see some shit. Um, which I didn't necessarily see anything, but let me tell you guys, when I say we felt the things,
Oh yeah.
all the things.
Mm-hmm.
So I have three kind of stories about three places that really hit me and like their little bit of history. Because the first one that I really noticed on um this tour, because it was like the Andrew Jackson Hotel, like
Mm-hmm.
we went to the there was like a vampire place house, and then we hit Lottery Mansion, and then the big one I remember that is the old Ursuline Covenant. Um so the first one that hit me, and at this time, so when we were on this walking through the streets on this tour, there's doors everywhere, you guys. So they like have to keep certain distances between each other. And so um Nicole, Trinity, and I kept noticing we weren't standing next to each other, um, especially at the beginning for a lot of these.
Mm-hmm.
Because I ended up getting in the back lot because I kept trying to catch like pictures that I was hoping would develop with ghosts in them or like orbs or something. I was like, I want to be a ghost detector.
Hit.
Um, and the first one that hit me was the Andrew Jackson Hotel. And it's known to be one of the most haunted hotels in the quarter. And it was
Yeah, didn't they
originally,
say like the pictures you would wake up with pictures on your phone or whatever that
yeah. So the reason this happens is because originally it was home to a boarding school and an orphanage for boys who lost their parents to like the yellow fever epidemic. Um, and fires happened in that building. A fire consumed the building and it burned down the orphanage, and there was 5 boys inside. So now
mm,
it's said that those 5 boys inhabit that house. So there's like the one that everybody knows with the cornstalk fence, and then there's the actual hotel to the right of it. And people have said there are pictures of them with like their camera while they're sleeping was up in the corner of their room.
mm-hmm,
There's reports of young boys like waking guests up with laughter, pushing them out of the bed.
mm-hmm.
Other reports have been the caretaker, seeing the caretaker of the orphan boys fluffing pillows and cleaning up their rooms. Other people have said they've seen Andrew Jackson roam the halls. Um, but there's been a ton of accounts. Like the one
We
that I
should stay
remember,
there.
yeah, I want to stay there. I
Mm-hmm.
really do. Our tour guide was fucking awesome, man.
He
He
was
was,
really good. I
yeah.
forget his name, but I forget.
Oh man, he's been in New Orleans for a long time, and he was telling us how
Mm-hmm.
he's like always talking to the like locals and stuff like that. And the locals just said that if you put a piece of candy under your pillow, the little boys will take it, but they won't mess with you. And that's how you like get your sleep throughout the night.
Offerings.
Offerings, people. Offerings.
Yep.
That one, it was when he started talking about somebody had hung themselves. I can't remember if it was one of the little boys or something, but it didn't mean to. It kind of happened on a fluke. And when he was talking about that, I started getting sicky feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Then we moved to like this vampire one. And then the first one we stood in front of together was Madame Lalaurie mansion. For those of you that don't know, I'm sure you've heard of her in American Horror Story Coven. She didn't deserve she deserved worse than what she got in that. But um this woman was a French aristocrat who owned what was considered a mansion back then, and she is known for her torture and her severe punishing of slaves. She kept slaves.
Mm-hmm.
She would have like 12 plus at a time. And her house got burnt because a slave that was chained to her stove as a punishment started the fire because the slave then told firefighters and investigators that there was like 9 slaves that went missing that she took into her attic, and they were never seen again. And then
Mm-hmm.
there are claims of what they saw up there. Um, and it's just, this is when I stood next to Trin, and Nicole was standing next to us too. And I remember Trin saying like her head felt light and she felt like she was going to puke. And I was like, I feel like I'm going to puke. And we were just feeling like absolute shit in front of this absolute shite,
Right.
mate.
And it makes you look like a crazy person because you're like sensitive to these energies and like you're trying, well, for me, I'm trying to keep everything normal. Like I'm a normal person, I'm normal, not
Yeah.
normal.
Normal as we can be, man, at least in front of
Right?
others.
At
With
least
you
in front of
guys,
others, right?
it's there's no normalness here. The weird gets
No, I'm
seeped
trying
out.
not to like, well, like when we were in front of, what was the convent? God, I love that place so much. It was
Yeah,
so
so that
beautiful.
was the old Ursuline covenant or convent. Thank you. Covenant.
Covenant. That place, I started coughing, and it's COVID still, and you can't cough in public. It's bad.
Right.
So of course I got no fucking water with me, and I start it with a coughing fit.
Yeah, man. It was rough. That one was really rough. So the story behind that one is there's the biggest story was that that's where people were saying vampires were created because girls were sent to New Orleans from other French convents to find suitable to be married because there wasn't enough suitable women for these
Mm-hmm.
men to marry. But they carried all their belongings there in coffin-shaped chests.
Uh-huh.
But when the local citizens disrespected the girls, forcing them into prostitution or worse, the girls were taken back to France, and their coffin luggage was left. But when the nuns went to open them, there was nothing in them. So then it was spread throughout New Orleans that vampires were let loose in New Orleans.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? I remember
That
him
is
talking about
interesting.
that, but the biggest story I remember him talking about was there's a statue there, and I want to say it's of Mary Magdalene, but I cannot remember. And the nuns prayed over it all the time. And there was
Mm-hmm.
a fire consuming New Orleans. It was a great fire of like 18 something. And these nuns took this statue and moved it towards the fire at the one corner of their convent, and the fire stopped the street before theirs. Like they were on
That's
the other side
crazy.
of where the fire was.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, that's so cool. But there was just so much feeling there.
Yeah, I didn't feel good at all. I had that coughing fit. I think all of us didn't feel good at all. I think all of us like did not like I know the baby was having like a hard time, like she didn't feel good, like
Dude, yeah, we did not. I think I didn't feel good until our last stop, which was right by the French market. He was telling us about the little old lady at the French market that will ask you for change.
mm-hmm.
And it hit me what she's asking for during it. And I told Nicole afterwards, and I was like, dude, that's so cool. We should leave her I was like, I spiritually left her because I have changed to the underworld. So I left her
Yeah.
one. But apparently people have said that there's an old woman that'll ask for change and that she's looking for change to get, like, catch the bus, to like catch whatever it is. She's got to get out of here. And if you don't give her change, then she does something like tries to trip you, some shit like that. Something will
Right.
happen to you.
She pushes you down or something. Yeah.
And that she's never found the change she's looking for. And so I spiritually astral projected and gave her a coin. I left it there. I like tinged it, left it there, and I told her, this is for you if you choose to move on. And then at the end of that last place we were at, we are still by the covenant. I started to feel better. We had to walk down and down. We had to stay away from the route we just took because we were like, that was a lot. It's a
Yeah.
freaking lot, man.
It
Ugh.
was a lot. There was a lot going on. And you know, I love to hear the story and I love the history of all of it. Whether I see the ghost or not, that's I don't really care. I mean, I like look for them, but
I
like
was gonna
that's
say
not
it was a cool story, but I was a little bummed because I was like, oh, I'm fucking seeing a ghost tonight, baby. Let's go. Nope.
I know, right? Like especially well, that's the thing though. The only ghost that I know I saw was on Halloween. And we were on our way to the um what was that cafe?
Oh,
Where we
the
get the
Vampire
beignets.
Cafe.
No,
Oh,
the beignets.
Cafe du Monde.
Yeah, so we were going back. We were down where all the artists were, and we weren't feeling that vibe anymore. So we started walking back and um there was now I was dressed up kind of like death. So I had like a skeleton face on, crown, and a dress. And I remember seeing this lady, as I was walking by, and she kind of looked at me and she was kind of frightened, but didn't say anything. And I just kept walking. But then my aunt was behind me and
She was dressed
she,
up as what?
a phoenix.
She kind of looked like a chicken, love you, Aunt Debbie. It was so cute.
It was so cute. And she was like, if I just put more orange on this or whatever. So I thought it was good. I was glad that she was there and that she had fun with
I
us.
loved Aunt Debbie.
And she went to Aunt Debbie and was like, wanted a cigarette. And she asked her for a cigarette. And which is interesting to me because she just lost her husband almost 2 years ago. And that was kind of the reason why she wanted to come to New Orleans with somebody. And she didn't want to experience New Orleans for the first time on her own. She wanted somebody to be there with her, and and she, of course, she did great. Like she didn't need us there. She didn't like.
Aunt Debbie doesn't need anybody, you guys. This
Oh my
woman
God,
is
she
high
never
energy. She'll talk to everybody.
absolutely
She's giggling and doing this and like
yeah, like had the best time.
she's amazing.
She lost her phone while she was there, got a new phone, like
Yep.
she got it all handled. But I remember that she asked her for a cigarette, and I thought that was weird because of all the coincidences that are attached to it. And then afterwards, that I thought like that woman kept sticking in my mind. And I remember remembering that she had no color. Like she seemed really gray to me. And then I was like, oh my God, that was a ghost. Like she didn't even know she was dead.
Yeah, because New Orleans is so it's the number one, it's considered the number one haunted city in the world, or well, in the US, right? And I feel like we so people that have clairvoyancy sometimes ghosts look exactly like we do. You don't even know. It's just
Mhm.
annoying a feeling, you can feel it. And that's what I think you experienced.
Yeah, because it looked like she looked like a person. The only thing, like I said, was the lack of color. But I still
Crazy.
didn't really notice that until because I think it was more with like my third eye instead of with my two eyes. Like I saw her with my two eyes, but inside I saw her as like being gray. being very low to the ground. Like like the way it played out in my head was more like she was asking for a cigarette, but it was like she was so low and she was asking for it, like she was almost begging for it or something. I don't. It was very interesting.
So cool, man. The only thing, haha.
Uh,
Oh, the only thing that really happened to me is these fuckers are asleep. Okay, and I say fuckers because I was like, there's no fucking way I'm experiencing this all by myself, and you guys are not waking up right now. So the night of Halloween, right? We didn't stay out that late because
no.
it was a really eventful weekend, you guys. And I tell people this all the time. New Orleans is a walking city. It's not a driving city. It's stupid to get an Uber unless you're going out of the French Quarter. And even then, they have the trolley, there's the bus. It's just, there's so many easy ways to get around New Orleans. It's
Oh
a
my God, I
waste.
love the trolley.
The trolley is so cool.
Uh-huh.
So it's a lot of walking and it's usually hot and humid. It's the South, baby. It's
Mm-hmm.
hot, humid. There's
Yeah.
fucking marshes everywhere, all that shit. So we were exhausted into the night of Halloween and we were leaving the next day. So we stayed out with Aunt Debbie all day. We saw a crazy fight. I have never seen a fight like this in New Orleans. And of course, me being all fucking protective big sister, I told Trinity, I was like, don't look out there. She looks, she don't care. And then I forget, I was like, oh, I forget it's you. Like, you know. Um, it was wild. So by the time we went back to our hotel pretty early and took all of our shit off and laid in bed and watched
Yeah.
Harry Potter and it was great. Um, we all finally fall asleep, right? I wake up to boom, 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 boom on the counter in the bathroom. Now, granted, we kept the bathroom door closed. So it created a little cozy space for us, and I don't like because I see shit. I don't like dark rooms like that. I want to see that shit. So I'm like, I like sit up a little bit and I look behind me. The baby's like literally right here, fucking dead asleep, and Nicole's sleeping. I'm like, son of a bitch. Well, then I hear knocking on the bathroom door. And I'm laying there. And of course, I got a little pit of fear in me. And I was just like, are you guys fucking serious right now? I'm like, I understand the veil's thin, but clearly we are sleeping. They don't hear me. They're sleeping still. So I open the bathroom door and I'm like, stop. Close the bathroom door. Boom, boom, boom. On the bathroom door. And I was like, son of a bitch. Well, then we have water bottles on each side of our freaking things.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole's empty water bottle goes flying across the room. It sounded like a crunch fly. And it was just like, she kind of like sat up a little bit, but I think it was just her moving in her bed. I was like, oh, that must have been her. Because, we're not poltergeisting this shit. I'm not, no, it was Nicole. She woke up. I don't know why she threw her damn water bottle, but she threw it. I'm going back to sleep. Nicole does not have any recollection of any of this. She did not hear anything. Neither did Trinity. Nicole didn't touch that damn water bottle. And I was like, cool, cool. So the pounding of the bathroom, I knew that wasn't either of them, but the water bottle being thrown across the room, that was the first time I've ever experienced that. And I was just like, while I'm sleeping, man, come on. I wish I
They're
would have
like, you
looked at
wanted a
the time.
show. Here we are.
I know. And then I was like, dude, I did ask this whole weekend. I wanted to see ghosts, but I didn't want to experience that, but I wasn't specific.
You,
So
yeah, I was like, you have to be specific. Plus, careful what you wish for.
yeah, that's true. It was cool. When I think about it, I'm like, damn, that's the first time that I've ever been in a situation where a spirit was strong enough to physically move something.
Right.
Of course, when we were in Salem, the baby and I fucking, my God, we saw and heard and dreamed about a lot of things, but never
Mm-hmm.
anything moving. That was my first time experiencing that, which was scary, but kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, because there was a lot of stuff in Salem as well, but that was different in that um the lady of the house, and there were a lot of ladies of the house, like, and they were all very interested in what we were doing, and especially with makeup and stuff like that. Like, I don't think they've seen a lot of stuff like that since then, or they were just very interested in it. But yeah, that was more of like, look, we're not here to disrespect. We're, literally talk to the ghosts in every place that we stay because they're there anyway.
Yeah, man, that first night the baby and I slept in the big bedroom together because let's be honest, Trinity and I sleep together in twin beds. We just snuggle the fuck up. We are comfy as hell. We look
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous, I'm sure, but we make it work because it is comfy as hell. That's just how we've always been in our little relationship here. And so we were in the big bed, which we both prefer to be comfied up together. So that was a whole thing. And I woke I woke up to knocking on the wall in between where Nicole and Bella were sleeping and where me and Trinity were sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what the fuck? And Nicole had heard it. She went to the bathroom and I was like, right after, and I was like, you heard that,
Mm-hmm.
right? She's like, yeah, I did. I go to sleep, and in my dream, okay, this is how real this was. I woke up in my dream to the baby having the worst nightmare. The worst nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And Nicole comes in and she's like trying to wake her up. She's like doing all this energy work around her. And she's like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Well, then I start feeling hands all over me, just like this, rubbing my body. And I was like, no, Cole, I'm getting chills talking about this. I was like, there's hands all over me. And you're like, you know what to do. And then I fucking see a woman standing in the bedroom door that goes out into the little living room area. And she's this old 1800s looking like French aristocrat kind of look, ball gown outfit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Nicole, it's in the doorway. Get your broom. So she gets her broom and she starts like banishing it out of the area or like telling her, like, leave us alone. And then I wake up and I'm in a cold sweat and everybody's sleeping. It's the middle of the night and I was up for hours.
Ugh.
Um, and then thinking about it, I was like, you know what? It makes sense why they were initially trying to get us out. We are a goth family, you guys. When we go out together, we are a goth family. We're all in black. We all wear dark makeup. We all have colored hair. We don't look like your traditional or more classic um idea pretty, I guess. I don't know how else to say that without really stereotyping it because I don't want to. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like your classic look, like your conservative, more conservative look. We look very goth. And I'm like,
We
of
like our
course,
eyeliner.
we like our eyeliner, we like our dark makeup, our dark lips, our
Mm-hmm.
dark hair. And I'm like, of course, then it became we the next day when Trinity had experienced some stuff that night too, and she noticed it immediately when we walked into the
Mm-hmm.
room. And when we were telling Nicole about it that next morning, she's like, we need to get them offerings. So we got her some flowers and
Mm-hmm.
we put those out and put new water in them and everything. And we had gotten alcohol from the lady that was running the joint. She was so cool. She like
Mm-hmm.
gave us a bunch of alcohol and stuff. And so we gave some to them. And yeah, I feel like from then on, we kept noticing their energies. And it was like couple, 3, 4, 5 women, something like that. And
Yeah.
Nicole's so right. It's like it would be when we were all getting ready for the day, all
Mm-hmm.
4 of
They
us
really
doing our
like
hair and
that.
makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like all of a sudden you would smell powder fragrances out of nowhere
Mm-hmm.
too. And it was like, oh, they're so curious. Like, because we look different and they're watching because they're learning and they're like, this is so cool. And it was like their own
Mm-hmm.
reliving of getting ready with the girls. But then I also found out that hotel, there was a guy that made women's clothing that lived there.
Oh, I thought it was women's furniture
Oh, you're right. It was women's furniture. Yep.
because I thought it was so odd.
Yeah, it
Like
was.
women had their own furniture,
Apparently.
as we should, I
Oh,
guess.
hey, it's 222.
Two, two, two. That's my
Yeah,
favorite. Well, friend, I can't wait to go back to New Orleans.
me neither. There's so much more
Um,
to do and see there.
I agree. And I was also like wanted to, and I know New Orleans wanted me to live there because like everybody I met either asked me for directions because I look like a local. They asked me if I was where I was living there. They never even asked like where I was from.
Or like Wow. I love your hair. I wish I could be brave enough to do that. Like New Orleans is such a diverse area, I feel like, of all different kinds of people everywhere that you just flow right in.
Yeah, it was very freeing actually, because like um and I don't mean this in a bad way, but like up here I feel like a lot of people look at us and they have their own opinion and judgments and stuff like that, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Down there it wasn't like that. It was like they didn't see you for how you wanted to dress, like your choices
Yes.
in aesthetics. They saw you just being comfortable,
Yeah,
right? Like, and I thought that was really the freedom there that is what I really, really liked.
that's what I always say about what I love about New Orleans is it just feels so free. I feel like I can be wholeheartedly and 100% myself. I don't
Right.
feel like I have to be nervous walking out anywhere wearing anything that I decide to wear. Even the baby felt it.
Mm-hmm.
She dresses like the cutest little alternative goth girl. She wears like whatever she wants in her outfits. I'm always like, damn bitch, I wish I could wear shit like that. 'Cause she just looks so
Mm-hmm.
fucking cute. And it was like the most comfortable. It's like
Mm-hmm.
all three of us were like, we don't have to do anything we don't want to do. We could wear whatever, look however, smell
Right.
however.
And there was never it was the smell there.
The smell.
You know, I
That's
never realized what feces smelled like.
that is the one thing I will give New Orleans. Till they clean it and sometimes even after,
It definitely has a aroma.
has its own aroma. It really
Um,
does.
but
Some
that being
streets,
said, I'd move down there in a heartbeat.
dude, I moved down there in a fucking heartbeat.
The only thing I don't have problem with is the heat, because your girl does not
Oh man,
do well.
especially summer heat. Dude, I think the earliest
I
I've ever been there outside of winter months for us is August. And I can't even explain to you guys how much like I thought I was gonna be fine. It was like you walk outside and immediately you're like drenched with sweat and you can't breathe.
mm-hmm.
It was so hot and humid and muggy, and I'm like, how do people do this?
Yeah,
How
like
do you do this?
we'd have to definitely find our air conditioning
It'd
because
be like Renaissance Festival. You're catching me walking around with the little booby thing that you could keep
the
like
ice, yeah,
ice
the
in to
little
keep my
ice
chest cool.
cleavage ice, yeah.
Cleavage ice. I got it. It is so hot there. I'm like, how did people? This is what kills me too. Is I'm like, how did women wear full corsets, dresses, underdressing, and underwear underneath that, and all these layers out in this kind of heat?
They probably didn't. That's why they would take a nap during the day.
Dude, I'd be passing the hell out.
You
Too hot.
probably got all the work done that you needed to get in the morning, and then the afternoon you would go back to your house
Yeah,
and the
man.
courtyards that they have in there. That was the other thing that's nice is the courtyards.
Yeah, the breezes that come through courtyards. I don't know how it works,
Hmm.
but my God, I love courtyards in New Orleans. Just sitting there chilling. You're like not being
Yeah,
seen by the people in the streets.
yeah. Like you can tell it's all going on, especially like during the weekend when it was all a lot of partying, a lot of like drinking and yelling and hooting and whatever, right?
Mhm.
And it was nice to sit among it without being a part of
My ADHD in my head is like people in the streets. Ba-da-dee-da-da.
it. You're
Well,
like, well,
yeah,
that's New Orleans, folks.
we're gonna talk to you guys about our experience there. We'll probably have more experiences in the future because we plan on going back.
Mm-hmm.
There's some festivals there and some cool shit there I would love to talk at in the future. Um, I just love going there. Well, my clients, when I've been talking about my 30th birthday, they're like, "You're not going to New Orleans for your birthday?" Because that has been my thing for a while now. Is like,
Uh-huh.
I want to go for my birthday because I love it there. And I was like, no, I always say I want to go at least once a year, but I think this year might be the first year I don't go for till next year. just because of everything else going on in my life. I was like, this might be
Yeah.
that one year. But you can catch me with a vacation house there in the future, baby.
Oh yeah, because if we can winter down there and summer up here, I'd be down for it.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna be snowbirds. Catch us flying to New Orleans,
Right.
baby.
We're not going to Florida. We're going to.
You want to get your hair done? Come on down. Who knows? By then we'll probably won't be doing hair, but who knows? We're on this path, we're on this journey, wherever the universe is taking us, we're following, man.
Absolutely.
New roads is getting opened all the time. Thank you, Papa Lagba.
Thank you, Papa Lagba.
Okay, peeps.
All right, this is another session in the books.
Heck yeah. When this episode's come out, the next week, you guys, is gonna be Ostara. If you haven't listened to Ostara,
Oh,
go back, listen to it. You'll know
Stara.
what to do. Our next episode we will be welcoming back Rocky for
Yay.
DIY house cleansings part 2, baby.
Part two house cleaning, which is good because we've got that class tomorrow and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, me too. Um, okay, yeah. Hang in there, guys. We're coming out of that full moon soon and we'll get used to the energy that we have too. So
Oh, thank God. 'Cause
we're
I'm
getting
dying.
there. Yeah, I
All
agree.
right, we love you. Thank you
But
for listening.
thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.